3, 2, boop.
Hello and welcome to a very special episode of the Mental Head on God podcast.
Yeah!
Okay, more exciting than this should be. We're going to do something a little different for this episode. It's not something we normally do. We're actually going to have a serious episode for once. We have had one or two other ones. There was that guy who talked about his addiction to alcohol.
That was a serious one.
I don't remember that guy's name.
The one about the disease that we talked about. That was a different one with the lady.
I don't remember.
We did a whole PSA on it too.
Okay. But so obviously the news is consumed with discussions on guns at the moment because of the horrible tragedy in Parkland, Florida. So I decided I wanted to do a special episode. It's going to be serious. Like I said, we usually try to keep things lighthearted, and MHOG is typically a comedy podcast. If you're not interested in listening to any of this discussion, then, skip and listen to the next episode. Hopefully you don't. I think we'll have a lot to say. I specifically asked Rum on it because of the four main members of the Metal Hand of God podcast, I'm the most politically active.
You are.
But I'm not a gun expert by any stretch of the imagination, and I figured if there's anyone of the four of us who probably grew up around guns, surprise, it's not the black guy. It would be you, Rom.
Yeah. I definitely had a father in law enforcement. I grew up with guns all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
I think we should start with discussing our where we come from individually on guns, like what our perspective
Sounds
is.
Cool.
And let's start with you.
Okay. My dad. I grew up. My father was military. Retired military. Became he didn't retire military. He just his time was up. He didn't retire. He wasn't a lifer military. He went into I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. He went into wildlife law enforcement. So he was a deputy, or he was a game warden for a very long time. Started off as a deputy, went as a game warden. We were from a long line of hunters. Not the crazy militia sit in the woods guys type hunters. We were sportsmen, but we if we shot it, we ate it. We weren't the ones who was like, I'm just shooting this 400-pound buck for the antlers. No, we ate what we shot, because if we didn't eat it, we starved because we had nothing. So that's kind of where I'm at, where I grew up. I kind of took the reins. I don't hunt like I used to, but I do shoot, and I do have quite a few weapons. I've inherited a lot of weapons from my grandfather, and my, as it goes down. It's just one of those things. It's been a tradition that weapons like fine jewelry are passed down within the family. So what about you, Adam?
Well, I should also mention that you, I discovered today, I didn't know, you are an NRA member.
I am. Yeah. I'm a lifetime NRA member. I have been for quite a long time. My father is as well. But to give you an idea of the NRA type of people, we are NRA blue, what I call blue collar, which is he's because he was military, because he came from a family of hunters. We aren't the crazy run around the woods with M16 hunters. We have regular hunting rifles, that sort of thing.
Are there a lot of those? I'm not.
Funny enough, there's more now than there ever was.
That's probably true. I do not come from gun folk. I did have an uncle who was a gun guy, and gave his nephews weapons as they got older. However, when it came to me, my mom, to his name, he was Uncle Rick. My mom told he was going to give me a bow and arrow. So I would have learned archery. My mom stopped him.
No, you'd have been great as the Green Arrow.
I would have. but my mom, there actually is a half Asian Green Arrow. Like,
Yes, there is.
he's gay though.
Plus, he has a bit of his guineo.
Jesus.
So.
Well, we're gonna try to be serious. But so I never got that experience. And then later, my mom's first boyfriend after my dad was what many people in this country would call a gun nut. He is, I'm positive, as an NRA member. He'd often expressed his dream was to actually open his own gun store, but with the political climate in this country, he was a little bit paranoid. So he was under the impression that they would just, take away the Second Amendment and all that stuff, which we'll discuss that sort of thing later on, but we'll try to keep each subject sort of,
compartmentalized.
Yeah. But he actually, my first experience with guns was with him, and it was not a good experience. On my 15th birthday, my mom was working, because my mom was a single mother and she worked all the time. And she said, well, take Adam out and, show him a good time. And so I wanted to go to the comic book store, which we did. And he thought like, oh, this is a good opportunity for me to show the boy guns. And, okay, the main rule with guns that they tell you when you first hold one is don't ever point it at someone's face. However,
that's just that's a rule of thumb type of thing.
However, not everyone's that coordinated. And at one point he said something to me and I turned with my whole body and I had a shotgun right in his face. I mean, my finger wasn't on the trigger, because he also told me that, like, keep your finger off the trigger unless you're about to shoot. But it did not leave a good taste in my mouth. And as I was telling you earlier, like, if you came to me and said, Adam, okay, I look at guns the same way I look at nuclear weapons. If you gave me the opportunity to make a wish, I would wish away nuclear weapons. The same goes for guns. Sure. However, in a world in which nuclear weapons exist, I'm thankful that the United States has access to nuclear weapons. And in a world where guns exist, to quote my favorite writer, I don't like guns, but if everybody in the block has one, I want to get my hands on the biggest, baddest one I can find.
You could kind of take that like in a Marilyn Manson song too. If I don't like the drugs, but the drugs like me, but you could substitute drugs for guns. It's kind of a necessary thing there.
Yeah. So, but I'm to this day, I am not. I've always thought to myself, well, I'm not particularly coordinated. I have a short temper. I'm probably not somebody who should own a gun.
You sound like you sound like the guy that needs to own a gun. Not coordinated, short temper. Come on.
Well, but the thing is, Rum, like, as I get older, the more things like this start to happen, the scarier the world gets. There's a part of me that thinks that the time may come soon when I will need to get a gun. And sure. I was actually when I was in Tennessee, I was talking with my friend who is a gun owner, and we went to the gun range. We didn't shoot anything because it was packed.
It happens like that, yeah.
And but we were discussing it, and I was doing the numbers, and it would probably cost me $1,000 if I got a gun and my concealed carry permit, because I would need to train fully, and that's going to be a few hundred on its own. So, but that's where I am. I'm not a gun lover. I'm just someone who believes strongly in the Second Amendment and just understands that guns are an unfortunate necessity in the United States. Can
I throw something out there real quick?
Sure.
Then we'll move on to where you're leading us here. If you are interested in gun or learning about a gun, a less expensive, probably, in my opinion, more user-friendly way of learning is to go and find your contact your land conservation officers, game wardens, such like anybody like that, and take, even if you're not hunting, take a hunter safety course. If you take a hunter safety course, it'll teach you everything you need to know, how to handle the gun, what to do with the gun. That way, when you take your concealed weapons permit, it is a breeze. It's easier to do. You'll feel more confident, and you'll be fine with it. It'll run you less than half of what you just said.
Okay. Well, half of it was like $500 to $600 for a gun.
Sure. Or you could just buy it off of like that dude on the corner. That's fine. No, don't do
Right,
that, people.
right.
That's wrong. Don't do that.
No. But I figure the gun and ammo is going to cost me for a decent gun is going to cost me like roughly
But
$600.
depending what you want, I mean, a lot of people, they want to go. I need a big gun. I need like a 44 Magnum. You don't need a 44 Magnum. If you can't, you don't need anything huge, people. If I were you, honestly, first handgun, I would probably go with nothing bigger than a 38.
Oh, really?
A 38.
I was looking
38's a fine gun.
I was looking at a 9mm or a Glock, but
Nine mils are fine. They're very common. They are very mass produced anymore. You need to get a decent one, or you might as well just be buying a 22. But a 38, and for you, honestly, my opinion would and I'm a big fan of them as well. I know everybody likes clip loads and everything, but I think you can't go wrong with a revolver. Guess what? They don't jam.
All right. Well, so
if you can't shoot it in 6 shots, you don't need to be shooting.
Well, that's a good point. So the first thing I want to go into briefly, so I want to separate this into two. We're going to talk about the Parkland shooting and what happened, and
Okay.
And then I'd also like to talk separately about what's been going on with the kids that survived, because I'm less upset by the discussion of back and forth on gun rights than I am by what I would term the abuse of these children. But we will get to that, But to start with, the thing about the Parkland shooting that's tripping me out is, and this will bleed a little bit into talking about the kids, is that it's interesting that this is the one that the media and anti-gun advocates have chosen to lay their rest their laurels on. That's not the right term, but you know what I mean. They're resting their case on this because of the two most recent shootings, the one in Las Vegas and this one. Now this one pulls at your heart more because it went to it's kids supposed to be safe in school and they got shot up. And the one in Las Vegas, I think the main reason that they didn't try too hard for any serious gun reform on that is because they weren't going to be able to trot that many people out because it was a country show. I'm going to go ahead and bet that the majority of the people there were probably at least somewhat in the direction of being Second Amendment advocates. Whereas with these kids, again, they're children. It's the most, look, neither one of us have kids, but we all have children in our lives that we love. You got a niece, I've got godkids. The worst thing that I ever want to think about is, something like this happening. And, so it does pull at your heartstrings, but the thing that trips me out is everyone, the media's been doing their best to and they've been doing a good job of hanging this on the NRA, despite the fact that all the evidence points to the opposite. So the facts of the matter are this: the kid who did the shooting, I'm not going to mention his name because I do agree with the people saying we need to stop making these kids famous when they do something, or these people famous, because it's not always kids. We need to stop doing that. But this kid had basically several dozen warning signs with both the FBI tips and police tips that should have when he went and got this AR-15, he cleared the background checks because no one law enforcement involved did not do due diligence and didn't put any blemishes. If they had reported on all these, because the kid was telling people for years that he was going to shoot up the school. And
correct.
And I don't remember all the details, but as recent, within a week of the actual shooting, people had called in and said, we think he's going to shoot up the school. So there was this drastic failure on every level. And there were 4 police officers. We found this out, I think, yesterday or Friday. There were 4 police officers on the scene from the Broward County Sheriff's Department who did not go in when the shooting started. They were behind their car.
All they were talking about primarily was the one.
Or initially, they didn't mention that there was any sheriff's deputies out there.
Well, the school actually had a
He was a police deputy that's also a security officer for the school.
Also a security officer when he's off duty for the school.
And he didn't go in, and then there were 3 other deputies who showed up, also who didn't go
in. They took. I'm not defending these guys by any means, but I'm just saying what they would have done was when that guy called it in, when that call went out, he took a position. Now he should have went in. He should have, but I'll tell you a reason why he didn't. But I don't want to get off your subject. I'll come in when you need me to. But the other 3 guys showed up. And he told them to take position until the rest of the guys got there. Go ahead. Continue your story.
Well, what ended up happening was that the Coral Springs sheriff, whose kid was, I believe, in the school, actually showed up and ended up being the person who went in. I don't know if he was the one. I don't know who actually took the kid down, because that hasn't really been the focus. I didn't, forgive me, I didn't do my due diligence and find out.
I believe it was a 4-year. This is what I heard, whether it's correct or not. He was a 4-year veteran.
Okay,
so
you think that
he'd been on the force for 4 years, and then he went in. From what I understand, went down a hall. There he was. He was taken down.
Okay. Well, I mean, I know you're going to say more about this in a second, but I have heard plenty of people saying, "Well, do you blame those cops for not going in? That's scary." Here's the thing. Yes, I do, and I would assume that most law enforcement around this country would also blame those officers, because as scary as that is, that's ultimately that's their job. You know, like it's not just, you know, writing, filling out reports on purse snatchers and stuff like that. The unfortunate matter is that's what you're there to do.
The other department that's scary is fire, but when you show up and there's a fire in a building, does the first fireman on the scene just point at it and go, "Wait for the other guys"?
Right.
No, he tries to put it out.
But
before it gets out of control.
Here's the thing, like, what this particular shooting proves is you know, I saw Piers Morgan going like, I think we can just go ahead and dispel the good guy with the gun myth, because there were 4 good guys and they didn't, you know, and that didn't solve anything. Well, it does the opposite, because the scary truth is that while police officers are intending to help you, there is no guarantee that they can help you or will help you. And that's why
they're human.
Well, because they're human, and they don't always, like, sometimes there's not time, you know?
There's not time, and you can be again, it sounds like I'm defending these guys, but I'm not. Please take that. You don't know what you're going to do until you're put in that situation. If you've been on the force for 20 years and never had to pull your weapon, then you are blessed.
Well, actually, from what I understand, as far as pulling the weapons, that's one, I guess it's a separate subject. Most cops, from what I understand, never actually fire their weapon in service. The majority of them.
If you're very lucky, you don't. Because as soon as you pull that trigger, this day and age, you might as well kiss your career goodbye.
Right.
And that's unfortunate, but that's the way it is.
Right.
And that's always lingering over their heads. Especially the guy that was there. I just want to throw this out there. The guy that was there that they were throwing out saying he should have went in. He should have went in. But I know what was in his head after reading up on the guy. He's close to retirement.
So you don't think it was
he's
fear?
Murtaugh. He's Murtaugh.
I got you.
From you know, and they were just waiting for Riggs to get there.
So you don't think it was a fear thing? You think he was just like, I'm not ruining. I'm not going out like that. He was
a senior officer, off duty, from the main thing, and he was there at the school. I think, this is me, I'm not sure, I don't take this to the bank, but this is the way I read it. He showed up on the scene, he was there on the scene, went, shit, this is really happening. I'm not going in. I'm going to wait for backup. I'm going to take a position. Backup got there pretty quick, but not quick enough before anybody got hurt. He gets there. He's probably at this point battling, do I go in? If I go in, what if I get shot? Well, fuck, I'm almost ready for retirement. Do I risk all that? These new guys, they're coming in. There's like, what do we do? What do we do? We going in? Wait for more backup. So they waited for more backup when these other guys were probably like, let's get in there. But no, they got to listen to the guy who has seniority.
Wow.
More guys show up. Here comes the media. He's like, fuck, I'm going in. 2 minutes. He's in there 2 minutes.
Well, I know
basically enough time to quiver in the doorway and get around a corner. And it's already over.
Well, I know, like I said, a Coral Springs sheriff did go in the building. No, wait, he might have helped wounded. Well, in any case, but my point is that it's interesting that they're hanging their hat on Parkland because, like I said, it sort of proves the opposite, that that police won't always be there. And here's the thing: most gun owners, like the people who hate guns, people who hate the NRA, always have this like sort of almost like a redneck snidely whiplash, image of people, like and look, I'm a redneck and I love rednecks, but there are rednecks that sit in the woods that are like, I can't wait to shoot some motherfucker, like
man, I hope he comes around the corner. I'm gonna put a cap in his ass.
Right, there are people like that, but most gun owners basically look at it this way: I don't ever want to be in a position where somebody I love could get hurt and me not be able to defend them.
Right. But like, if I'm put in that position, most gun owners, somewhere in their mind, whether they'll be able to act on it or not, will say, in their mind, they're going to say, but I've got a gun. I can protect them if I need to. Mm-hmm. If I'm put in that position, will they be able to fire? That's another question. That's a completely different topic altogether for another day, because you don't know until it happens. Yeah. You can just look at, for anybody listening to the show who served in the military, did you know, if you were ever put in that situation, which I'm sure a lot of the guys and women out there have been, when you're put in that situation to go, I need to fire my weapon. I need to take that person. I need to take them down. There is always that first time you pull that trigger, maybe every time you pull that trigger, that you're going to say, should I pull the trigger? Mm-hmm. There's always, because you know what that is? That's being human.
Right.
That's someone being raised with a sense of morality going, you're letting morality and your duty, you have a conflict there that you've got to get over. It's a personal conflict, but it's those moments that define.
Right. Well, we'll move on to the kids because we do have a lot to cover, but I do think it's interesting, and like some people saw that CNN town hall, which involved the kids, and the Broward County Sheriff's Office tried to cover up a lot of this stuff, and there has been this push to blame the NRA, which the thing is, the NRA isn't a corporation; it's an organization of individuals, people like you, Rum. Yeah. Now you might not be leading the NRA. There is obviously a leadership structure within the organization, but when you say the NRA is evil and like they're bribing politicians,
that's not me. I don't have any money to bribe shit.
Well, but what I'm saying is, you're like, this is a group of individuals.
I get a sticker and a hat once a year.
When you say NRA members have blood on their hands, you're saying the Rum Guy has blood on his hands.
Actually, and you know what? You're not far off. I probably have a lot more than most people, but
it's usually animal blood, though.
It's or my own. I trip and fall. I'm running with scissors, people.
That's true. So the thing about the kids. So you've seen like this emphasis on the kids. 17 kids survived, and they've been. Well, not all of them. There's mostly been a handful that have been focused on, the ones that are a little more politically motivated.
Sure.
And what
is your thoughts on that? What is your thoughts on kids' reactions?
I'm disgusted by it, and I'm going to tell you why. So if you don't know, your prefrontal cortex is basically the decision making, like the part of your brain that says,
You should have put out a disclaimer first, Adam. You should have said, this is our intelligent portion of our podcast.
There's never an intelligent portion of our podcast. No, but your prefrontal cortex is the part of your brain that says, I don't think this is a good idea. Like the Rum Guy doesn't have much as far as
I mean, it's in the name, people.
Yeah. But it's not, that part of your brain isn't fully formed until you're 25 years old, which is why you do stupid shit when you're young.
So
like it's not
apparently just formed.
Yeah. I caught that. So consider that most, I don't know what the, I don't know what the age range is, because this is from in high school. So I'm sure some of them are like 14 and some of them are 17, whatever. Sure. But so you take kids with like brains that aren't fully formed, you put them through the trauma of something this horrific, seeing their friends' body parts ripped apart by high velocity ammunition. And then within days, people start
literally 48 hours.
People start shoving cameras in their faces and make them internationally famous. These kids are suffering from PTSD with only semi-formed brains.
Let's even knock it down less than that. Let's just keep it basic and say, people, these are kids. These are kids. These are the same people. The same people. Maybe you're out there listening, going, hey, I have a kid. Is this the child that you want to make these heavy decisions?
Well, but here's the thing. Here's part of why I'm disgusted. We're both adults. Serious question. Yeah.
Label.
Serious question. Do you think that we're going to have any serious changes to gun law as a result of this horrific tragedy?
Serious change to gun law?
I'm not talking about like President Trump did something about bump stocks and is talking about maybe raising the legal limit.
Good, because I'm glad you brought that up, but I want to talk about that a little later. I want to throw that out there.
Okay.
Serious change to gun law? No.
Okay. You're absolutely right. And no intelligent human being, whether you're pro-guns or anti-guns, believes that this is going to be the straw that broke the camel's back. The people who are putting these kids out there know that. But here's and this is part of why they didn't go for, like I said, they didn't go for the horrific tragedy in Las Vegas where more people died, because when you have these kids and they're telling you their horrifying stories, and they are horrifying. And I can't imagine, one of the kids who is pro guns, his name was Colton Hobb, was apparently like
his name is Colton.
That's a good point.
Not sad.
But he was an ROTC member, and he was shielding students, much like the PE teacher that died,
or the cop that should have been in there. Yeah.
Right. But I lost my train of thought for a second.
Colton.
Damn.
Kool-Aid. I was throwing out words now until you remember.
I'm trying to remember what I was trying to say.
Jigaboo. Go.
Damn. Dude, you're just making it worse, Rum. We tried to have a serious episode.
Come on, we have to throw a little bit in there.
We can't. We just can't do it. You don't like, they don't want to pull out these people that are going to say, no, I still support the Second Amendment. They want to trot out kids that have experienced this tragedy, so that way, and I know this is being mean, but people have an agenda, and when they pull these kids out and you say no, I mean, I'm sorry that you went through this. That's horrifying, but no, I still believe in the Second Amendment. I don't.
It doesn't make you a bad person to think that either.
No, but I'm saying it does. I am saying that I think these people who are anti-gun are operating in bad faith and using this tragedy. I don't think they love the tragedy, and I do dislike it when people suggest. Yeah, I don't think that they wished for this to happen, but I think, just much like when a president finds the country embroiled in a war, it's like, I'm sure that president, whoever it may be, George W. Bush, Barack Obama, whoever, Bill Clinton, I'm sure they don't relish the fact that soldiers are out there dying, but they can't deny that there's political capital gained from it. And I think it's the same thing here. And I think they're trotting out these kids as show ponies, knowing that nothing's going to happen. But that way they have this perfect picture of the gun lobby and ordinary citizens who cling to their Bible and their guns as like horrifying people who, you don't feel sorry for these kids. You don't have any sympathy. You prefer, you love your guns over the lives of children. And it gives them a scapegoat, and it gives them a leverage over the people that they find themselves against politically.
These are the people that are the kings and queens of spin. They spin, they grab, and then they gravitate to the worst possible situations and throw in your face exactly what you're feeling and then twist it to point the finger in the direction they want it to go. I'm not saying by any means these kids, my God, to see that type of horror, to know that you're just going to school one day, you don't want to be there. Everybody's been there. Think of every freaking high school TV movie you've ever seen in your life. You're more worried about, are the jocks picking on you? Who's going to get bullied? Whatever. These kids had to deal with an adult situation now. An adult situation that most adults shouldn't have to go through. Nobody should have to go through that.
Right.
That's crazy. That's insane. This is like, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah.
You're like, holy shit. Do you realize? And here's the thing. People, I was thinking, I was like, oh my God, I saw this on the news and I'm watching it and I'm listening to it. And I'm like, and everybody's like, oh, NRA bad. But it's like, before the NRA, take that out of the equation. That's just a group of people. Whatever. Some are fanatics, like in any organization, there are fanatics. And then there's everybody else who just had a gun, that just, and it's not all about guns. It's more about, there's I don't want to get into that. Anyway.
Right.
But what I'm saying is, this topic has been out there for years. Do you realize, let me ask you, Adam, do you know when the first school shooting happened?
I have no idea.
The first school shooting happened in 1764.
Really?
1764. It was the Enoch Brown Massacre. 10 children and the teacher were killed. The Indians at the time went into a school because there was a new settlement on their land. Went into the school, scalped the teacher with a tomahawk, and shot 10 children before they were stopped. That's how long this subject has been out there. That's how long this has been going on. There has been countless. That's just the first one that's been recorded. But almost every year, for a very long time, every year, let me repeat that, since then, there was some sort of incident at a school regarding violence with a child. Some major. And that's the thing. To me, I hear, I see these kids and I'm like, holy shit. Then I thought, and then someone put up a statistic. I'm like, I got to see if that statistic's even right. Do you realize kids? Now, I'm going to say a word and people are going to go, well, that's because that. But Detroit, Michigan, 149 kids under the age of 18 have been killed since January of this year with handguns.
Right.
Not automatic weapons.
Well, this is kind of a separate subject, but because I'll say this briefly. I'm actually not like that much of a stickler for the semi-automatic, not semi-automatic weapons, but like assault
in
rifles.
Anybody's hand. No, there should be no assault rifles, and I know I'm going to get a lot of hate for this.
Well, you have an opinion.
No reason. If you were an NRA member, people, if you were out there and you were like, well, I'm NRA, so am I. There's no fucking reason you need an AR-15 for anything. Because most NRA members, are normal people who have just a gun or a gun. If they are hunters, there is no freaking way you need an AR-15 to fucking shoot a deer.
Yeah.
You don't need one. And you know what? I've shot AR-15s, people. They are one of the worst effing weapons on the market. They're crap. They're cheap. They're absolutely cheap. That's the reason why most people can get their hands on them. If they were an expensive weapon, you wouldn't have a freaking 18-year-old going out to get one. In Florida, shame on you for allowing anybody 18 years old to be able to purchase one legally.
Well,
shame on you.
I think there's a couple things at play in the assault rifles as far as like banning them. I think there's a certain number of people like me who basically look at it like this. A lot of the people are saying, look, I'm not saying get rid of the Second Amendment. I'm just saying we need better laws. Most of those people are lying. Most of those people, it's a stepping stone. And we know this. Here's the thing. This school shooting could have been prevented, but not by the means. The getting rid of the assault rifles wouldn't have done it because the kid would have just got handguns and he would have
got a handgun. He would have had multiple pistols.
Right. And he would have had an easier time of sneaking. I mean, apparently he had a breeze, no problem, whatever, getting into that school. But I'm saying like that, it wouldn't stop something like that. Less people would have died in Las Vegas, but still, I mean.
Well, here's the thing. That guy in Vegas, I can't even compare. I can't compare the shooting in Vegas to what we just had in Florida. I can't do it. Because we had a guy in Florida or a guy in Las Vegas shooting. I think that's what it is. We're not looking at it as we're not looking at the weapon. We're looking at the amount of people.
Yeah.
We're looking at casualty. And when we can have, how many, do you, off the top of your head, throw out a number, how many people were shot in Vegas?
I don't know, 38, 40?
30, okay, let's, because I can't remember, can we call it 40?
I'm guessing. It might be more. It might be a lot more.
All right, well, let's go with, let's just throw it out there. Let's say 60 people got shot in Vegas.
Right.
And so, but the problem, the thing that we focus on a lot is kids. There wasn't as many kids got shot. From what I understand, he shot 46 rounds.
Wait. Okay. All right. So, we were pretty close as far as dead. 58 people were dead. 851 were injured.
Okay. Well, that can be, but injured can be anything from trampled, anything. I mean, that wasn't injured from bullets. That was injured. Some of them were injured from bullets. Others were trampled. Others were pushed. Others were bleeding. Oh, I hit my head. I got thrown into a stop sign. That's an injury.
Let's not make light of that. That's
well, I'm not trying to make light of it.
Wait. Hold on. It actually tells you. Okay, according to the internet, 851 non-fatal injuries. 422 were by gunfire.
Okay,
so
well there we go.
That's
the number I'm looking for.
Okay,
that's a lot of people injured, and still a lot of people dead. But it wouldn't make a difference. We look at that number going, oh my God, that's one guy in a hotel room, people blocks away. When we're talking, but they'll focus more. That should have been the wake up call. That should have been the wake up call.
But like I said, you can't trot those people out because some of them are going to go, no, I still believe in the Second Amendment. I still believe that I should have the right to protect myself. It's not an
amendment issue to me. It's not an amendment. Let's talk about the guy real quick, briefly. In my mind, I'm a guy going to Las Vegas. The guns that man took into that hotel should have been noticed. Should have been noticed. Even if he took them in the golf bags. If he put each weapon in a golf bag, there is not one guy out there that carries 36 golf bags up in a room.
Mm-hmm.
Someone should have went, what the fuck is this guy doing with 36 golf bags? But what I'm trying to say is we're going to focus more because it's kids. Less people killed, doesn't make it less important, but we protect our kids. I think, honestly, besides the gun law thing, we need to that is important. We do need to have better restrictions on gun laws and or more restrictions on gun laws when it comes to the vetting process. Basically, who gets them? Yeah, well, we have the Brady law. There's a waiting period. Fuck the waiting period. It doesn't change you're crazy. Well, you need to know who you're giving the gun to, people.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. Like,
if you walk in, the guy comes in underpants with a fucking rebel flag on his crotch, nipple piercings, and already you know this guy has made bad decisions in his life. Why are you going to wait 7 days to say, okay, yeah, you can get the gun?
You know, this is a show heavily associated with metal. I don't know if you really want to suggest that tattooed people shouldn't have guns.
I'm not going to say anything about tattoos. Tattoos are awesome. I've got many. I'm just throwing things out that people associate with things like that. I mean, I know there's a lot of stereotypes, and I apologize if that offends anybody. But what I'm saying is, I think the process needs to be more on an individual basis, not on this is a formality, this is a formality, this is a formality. There is no formality when you're dealing with weapons, people. I
think, well, I mean, there is a problem though. Like, this kid had a ton of red flags that just weren't reported. That's why his background check came up clean.
Well, he didn't have any priors.
No, but the police had to visit his residence 39 times within 7 years. And the fact that he was going around saying he was going to shoot up the school, like, I mean, yeah, that should have been looked at. I'm not going to take anything away from that. But I do think there are a lot of people
that should have been taken as seriously as the guy sitting in a movie theater yelling fire. If there's no fire, he needs to be arrested because he's, definitely causing an issue. They should have looked at those signs a lot better. Already the people that were helping him, quote unquote, helping him, he was staying at their residence before this all happened.
Yeah. The foster family.
Not even I guess they're a foster family. They knew the parents.
Well, I think he had foster. Maybe I'm confused. The parents, he was adopted apparently.
All right. Well, his mother passed away.
Maybe I'm confused. Yeah.
Already this kid had some problems. He was, I even hate saying that because I'm sorry, bullying is a different topic to me and it pisses me off every time people talk about it because there's ways of dealing with it and ways of not dealing with it. I was bullied as a kid, and I'm perfectly fine. Wink, wink. The kid himself, the kid that did the shooting, called the police and said, "Did you hear the videotape or the conversation?"
No, I didn't hear this.
He called the police saying that he was thrown out of the house. His stuff is in there. The person on the other end of the phone said, "Why were you thrown out of the house?" He goes, "Well, I was punching the wall. I was mad. I was having a freaking fit. I'm having a lot of anger issues right now. I don't know what to do with myself. He basically was saying right now, I need help." The person on the other end of the phone said, "Well, you were punching the wall. Of course they threw you out." He goes, "Well, you have to understand. I just lost my mom. I got thrown out of school. I don't know what to do, and no one will help me out. No one will tell me what to do." At that same time, the people in the house called. Another operator picked up. Said, "This kid is going crazy. We need help with him. He's throwing shit. He's going through a tough time, but we don't know how to handle it." Right there, on both lines, somewhere there, that ball was dropped.
Well, the ball was dropped dozens of times before that, including with the FBI. There was tips that something was going down with this kid. And I don't want to remain specific on this kid. I'm just saying.
I don't want to throw all on the FBI either. FBI is a large organization.
Yeah, but this was the local office that didn't report in on it and check in on it.
And this is the problem with. I don't want to. I don't know how to word it without sounding like an ass. It's just going to come out and take it for what it is. when I mean we, I mean as a collective society, have caused this to happen because of the pussification of our society. We cannot, we're having the people that we turn to do the things we want them to. They're now taking a step back, a double take. They're looking at, well, if I do this though, what are they going to be able to come back on me?
Well,
This is where we're at in our society, because nobody wants to step forward and there's no heroes anymore, people. No, but we want them, but we can't have them because they're going to step on somebody's toes. This is what everybody in the back of their mind is thinking. And this is the problem, because no matter what you do, and in such a serious situation as this with these kids, and like you said, now we're throwing the kids out there, and the media whores are going after them, throwing them out in the front of the media, using their pain because they're suffering. They're feeding on it. They're fucking vampires. They're leeching off of them to prove a point, but they don't really care. They don't really care, because this is the only opportunity the leeches and the vampires out there are able to speak their mind without people jumping on their ass.
Yeah. I want to move on from the specifics of the shooting. I do want to discuss, as I mentioned earlier, I think a lot of the problem with the discussion of assault rifles is that we know that there are people who will say, there are plenty of people who I think will agree, like, we should have like better laws in place and look at different things to do to take care of, and look, and I'm not stringent on the assault rifle thing one way or the other. But it's just not important to me to have them. And I know people that want them or have them and love them. That's fine. But, I think that the problem is that there are people who pretend to just be in favor of enforcing or creating better laws, but really at the end of the day, and there are some people who are just honest about it. How many times have you heard that the Second Amendment is an outdated document that needs to be done away with?
The same amount of times I've heard that the Constitution needs to be rewritten,
or just done away with.
The
problem is that the Second Amendment, the reason it is the Second Amendment is because it reinforces the First Amendment.
Right.
You can't have freedom of speech if you don't have the ability to stop someone from taking it from you. And that's referring to the government, not to ordinary citizens.
Absolutely.
And so I do want to discuss, because there are people who are honest about it. It's like, nope, the United States just needs to get rid of the Second Amendment. So I want to discuss a little bit about, because people don't really think things through. Like, some people say things like, well, something needs to be done, Well,
that's like saying that fire's bad, trees are good.
Right. Like, it's a vague statement. Like, well, how does that work? So a couple things. So first of all, in order for the Second Amendment to be dismissed, overturned, my understanding is that 38 states have to sign up for that out of the 50.
I think that'd be the majority. All right.
That's plainly not going to happen, because the majority of people in this country disagree. The reason that we still have, like, everyone wants to say, oh, the NRA is just buying off these politicians. No, because if you're the politician that in your state is reinforcing laws that you don't like, and the majority of people don't like, people just vote those people out. The reason that they're voting for laws that the NRA agrees with is because the majority of people in the state agree with those laws. It might upset you but the truth is that just because you have an opinion doesn't mean the majority of people have the same opinion.
Right.
So a couple of things. So first of all, if the Second Amendment were revoked, though, that would not immediately make guns illegal.
Right.
Then it would go down to the states. Now the President of the United States could instruct Congress to come up with laws on the federal level that make all guns illegal. However, then you'd have a real constitutional crisis. People use that term a little too loosely, but you really would have the possibility of another civil war if you're telling a lot of these flyover states, as they're called, because what would happen is this. The East Coast and the West Coast probably would pass, and well, with the exception of Florida, would pass and enforce anti-gun laws. The states in the middle, some of them would, most of them wouldn't. States like Louisiana and Texas, they're not banning guns. So you would have, like, I don't know if it would be an all-out civil war. I don't want to suggest that, but I am saying that you would have.
I would probably I would back that thought. That's exactly what would happen.
Well, but let's also extrapolate how it would work on many levels. So first of all, I did want to point out that the United States has 2 borders. Now, Canada, we're not getting guns out of Canada, mostly because those people are pussies.
Well, the French. So, sorry, I'm talking to somebody from Louisiana.
I'm not French. Mexico, however, if you know anything about Mexico, northern Mexico is a cesspool.
Yeah, Viva Cartel.
Yes, it's literally because of that. The drug cartels run everything. You know why?
They have guns.
Partially. But one of the main factors is the American war on drugs.
Yeah, that was the best thing they ever had.
Yeah, they run drugs in the United States. It includes other stuff. It also includes like human trafficking. But what do you think happens when you shut down legal firearms in the United States?
You have a lot of victims.
Well, yes, but what gun running suddenly becomes business number one, which means you go from.
Well, then, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You go from legal firearms to illegal firearms, and suddenly, the richest people in the world are Mexican drug cartels.
Right. You're giving the wrong people all the power. And who determines who are the wrong people? Well, look around.
The internet, apparently.
Apparently the internet. Look around, people. Because everybody who has, I mean, all you got to do is read the news. You can pick them out.
Then you have other issues that would result from this. First of all, you're pulling a multi-billion-dollar industry out of the United States. You're not just taking, people like to say things like, oh, when you shop with Walmart, you're just buying another boat for the CEO. No, I'm also giving money to people in my community who need a job and work at Walmart. If you take out the gun lobby, you're not just taking out a few fat cats, as people like to think. You're taking, millions of jobs and bankrupting businesses and putting people out on the street. What happens when the economy dips and suddenly there's massive unemployment?
Then your taxes go up, people.
Well, I was going to say crime rises.
Then your taxes also go up.
Fair enough, but crime rises. That's kind of the central point. So you have that, which
taxes
means
are crime.
Yeah, thank you, Rum. So yeah, okay, maybe you don't have assault rifles, but you're gonna have a lot more muggings. Maybe they're with knives, or maybe they're with illegal handguns. I don't know.
I'd be happy if everybody just went to swords. I missed that. That was classy. Gonna stab somebody, stab them classy.
I don't even know how to respond to that.
Sorry, go ahead. Moving on.
No problem. Then the one of the other problems that you have is, how do you get the guns out of those houses? Some people will turn them in voluntarily.
They do that every year. There's every city, every state basically has a gun turn in. It always blows my mind to see how many people turn the guns in. But the ones that are turned in to be destroyed, I talked to, I have two friends of mine that are police officers. Over 80% of them have been used in the commission of a crime. What better way to get rid of a gun that you used in the commission of a crime is to turn it in voluntary as a gun turn in?
Interesting.
Yeah, those are the ones that primarily get turned in, are the ones used in a crime.
But so, yeah, some people will do that. Some people, or and maybe it's even the majority, would turn in their guns if guns were made illegal. However, there are going to be some people that will say, "Over my dead body."
Yeah.
Well, how are you going to get the guns away from them?
Civil War.
Well, specifically, I'm saying somebody has to go in there and get them.
Right, which is exactly the reason we left Europe in that first place.
Well, that's another thing.
That and religious persecution.
And the kinky sex.
And I would have stayed for the kinky sex.
God damn it, Rum, you made me do it now. No, but seriously, so you're going to have to send local police officers in there to go take back their guns. Well, who's going to want that job?
Apparently not the guy from that high school.
Hey, Rum, you're a police officer. I want you to go in that guy's house. He says that over his dead body will he relinquish, whether it's a handgun or an AR-15 or some other assault rifle. He says you can take it out of his dead hands. I want you to go in there and get that from him. Are you going to do that?
If it's my job, that's what I would do, and I would make sure I'm the one walking out. Because if I'm going to go in with that order under that situation, this is what you have to look forward to. If you say that out loud and it's expressed, is be prepared. That's what's going to happen. They're going to come in, they're going to shoot you, and then they're going to take your gun. There is no, come on.
Okay,
get on the team.
But at that point, what you're suggesting is that we should just go kill ordinary American citizens for.
No, I'm not suggesting we do that.
I'm not saying that you specifically are suggesting. I'm just saying that is basically what would happen.
That's exactly what would happen.
So, but I think most law enforcement officers would just say, "I didn't sign up for this. I signed up to save people, not to go take guns from some guy who just thinks he's defending his family."
Well, I would think that most, and I'm just saying this. There was a lot of people out there. I would think that law enforcement. Let's go with law enforcement. They take their job very seriously. They're a serious bunch of people. I respect anybody who wears the uniform to serve and protect. But that's their personal struggle at that point. We're back to that point where it's, do I go in and shoot that guy and take his gun? Am I a hypocrite since I'm walking around with a gun on my hip?
Yes.
They're gonna have to face that decision. But I mean, there will be some that would do that. They would walk in, they would kick in the freaking door, drop you, and take your weapon. And then there's the other ones that are like, I said, I'm turning on a badge. Well, there's no right or wrong to this because it's the situation you're put into. And again, you don't know what you're going to do until you're put into it. I would hate to see the world. I say the world. I would hate to see the United States that I grew up in get to that point. I really do. We've given up so much common sense. And that's what it boils down to. I really think it boils down to it is a simple common sense issue. I don't care how many things you spin on it. I don't care what you say about it. It's a right or wrong. It's common sense. And it's all it is. I think the majority of the people out there who have common sense would say, all right, okay, I wasn't expecting this. We need to talk about this. The crazy guy says right off the bat, you come into my house, I'm going to shoot you, copper. That's the crazy guy. Well, he probably shouldn't have the gun to start with. There's no negotiation. This guy is already ready to blow your head off as soon as you walk in. But I don't know what I would do if somebody came to my door and said, hey, I want all your guns. I'm like, well, your truck's not big enough. I've got quite a few. Well, you better tell me why you want them. Just some random bunch of people come over. I don't care. I mean, it could be a guy dressed in blue. He looks like a cop. I don't know what he is. You better prove to me. I better see some freaking shit. I better know the law. I better know why this is happening. There's a lot of factors I mean, so I don't know. I don't know what I would do.
Well,
I hope I know it.
my general point it was that there's no good outcome to
No,
getting rid of the Second Amendment. It's not
no.
people like look like I said. If you gave me a wish and I could wish away guns, I'd do it in a heartbeat. But guns
And
are out there and they're not going away, and they're not going away in the United States, and they can't because again. We're not an island. We have borders, and those borders, ironically, that like I'm not a biggest fan of the wall.
Some of them got a bigger wall now.
Well, not now, and we may never get a bigger wall, but like that actually would make it more likely, like that we could make that function like without guns in this country, but even then, So final thoughts. So I have something I want to conclude on, but do you have anything that you want to say before we wrap it up?
I have a lot to say, but I'll let you wrap it up, and then I'll just throw a short sentence in.
Okay. You said earlier that you think that the biggest problem is the pussification of America, and there's a lot of things that I would apply that to being the big problem. In terms of guns,
ask me a direct question. How about that? Ask me a direct question.
What direct question?
I was going to say if you ask me a direct question, that's how I'll conclude my part.
I don't know what direct question to ask you.
Oh, okay. Well, then we'll roll with what you got.
Okay, unless there's one that you wanted me to ask you, I don't.
No, I didn't know if there was a direct question. I was just gonna.
No. I think this isn't the only issue, but I think the biggest issue that's leading to not just mass shootings. I think like more violence and more incivility in general is one of respect.
Good.
I think you and I both ride motorcycles.
Sure. Yeah.
One of my pet peeves with motorcycles is you'll see somebody, and maybe they're our age, on a crotch rocket. And they'll weave in, and they're like, I'm a badass. Look what I can do. And they, and whenever I see that, I think, I don't want this person to die, but I want them to be injured badly so that they understand what they're doing because they're putting other people's lives in danger. When I look at a motorcycle, I love motorcycles. I love riding motorcycles. But I don't look at those as a toy. I respect the bike.
No.
I respect it because I know it's dangerous. When I get in a car, a lot of the arguments for why we shouldn't have guns apply to to cars. I saw somebody the other day talking about you shouldn't have something that easy to obtain at your fingertips that could murder multiple people. Most people don't get how many times a day they come very near to getting into a massive accident and killing people.
Well, look at how many people got run over by cars this year.
Yeah.
When on the news that were done unintentionally, running into cars, groups of people.
Well, how many people
That's insane.
have 2 or 3 drinks and they get behind the wheel?
Hey, you're talking to the Rum Guy.
Yeah, probably. Maybe you weren't the right person to bring on the show. But my point is that I respect the bike. I respect the car.
It's all about respect.
When I have sex, I respect the fact that, there's a chance the chick could get pregnant. And you have to look at guns.
I thought you were going to go somewhere completely different with that. That's funny.
Okay. Let's let that slide.
But go ahead.
But I'm saying you have to have a general sense of respect that applies to guns.
Exactly.
And on a deeper level, it applies to life. And we're taught, and I mean, even when we were kids, I think there's, you were raised a little differently than most people, but there has been a societal emphasis, and I think it started with our parents, where you were told you don't have to respect authority. You don't have to respect all these things. And when it comes to authority in particular, I think you should always question authority. I think if you see something wrong,
question it.
You should question it, but that's different than saying you shouldn't have any respect for authority. And I think that leads to people not respecting their parents, not respecting, teachers, politicians, whatever. But, and in general, in a lot of areas, there's not a respect for life. And you know, and look, we live in a godless society now where we're taught that, like, oh, you know, like, oh, you believe in the spaghetti monster. Well, look, I'm not religious, but if you believe that there's someone up there that's judging you, that wants you to be a better person, and you respect that, I don't give a fuck if he exists or not. Like, that's a pretty good thing. And a lot of people do need that. A lot of people need something positive to teach them to be better people, and they need that respect. And I think if you know, it's not going to solve everything. Your children, guess what? Your children are going to die. You're going to die. Everyone you love is going to die. And some of those people, unfortunately, are going to die young in some tragic accident. It might be a school shooting. More than likely, it's going to be like something like involving like a tragic accident, like a car crash. Or, you know, like we're all about, like, let's get rid of the NRA because, you know, they promote guns, but do we want to get rid of McDonald's because those fucking hamburgers that you're feeding your kid without a second thought, that kid's going to have heart disease, and you're more likely to die from heart disease than you are from a gunshot wound. But we don't worry about that, you know. And here's, you know, you should have respect for McDonald's. Don't fucking just eat that shit all day long. And I'm a fat person. I'm probably going to die young. Anyway,
I can't stop sneezing. I want to apologize.
No problem. But that's my ultimate thing is, like, I think one of the things we need more in this country is teaching kids respect. Respect. Not for us, but just for life in general.
All right, I want to say one thing that we didn't talk, and I'll leave it be. I think what we need to focus a lot more on is the one thing that everybody is glazed over is school security. The thing of it is, we need more security at schools. Yes, we do. But God damn it, people, you've got to pay for it. We pay school taxes. People go, oh, I don't want my school to be like an institution. I don't want it to be like a prison. Well, guess what? It needs to be a little bit more like a prison. It is an institution. You can paint it whatever color you want, people. It can be pink and have unicorns all over the fucking place. But an open campus, that's where we're at in our world right now. If it's not a kid coming into a school with a gun, it's an adult going into a school with a gun. It's anybody coming into school with anything, a fucking taser, a grenade, whatever. We need better security at our schools.
Or even just a knife. Plenty of kids used to bring knives to school.
A knife, a fucking box cutter, whatever. We need better security. That's what it boils down to, people.
Ben Shapiro.
Everybody, when something like this happens, they all go, we need better security. Then you tell them how it costs. And they're like, oh, fuck. Well, we can get a metal detector, maybe. You know, they're always wishy-washy on it. It's not, I mean, yes, the gun thing, that's an issue. I'm not trying to steer away from that. That's an issue. But really, if you want to protect your kids, protect your kids. That's what everybody pays school taxes on. We're going to pay school taxes. Like, yes, but then our teachers won't get another raise this year. Fuck that. Put into fucking metal detectors. Get somebody there. You know, do something. Anyway, that's another thing they need to think more about is security about that. But again, heart-wrenching, these kids. Absolutely heart-wrenching. Unfortunately, it's not going to stop. Much like bullying. I don't like bullying. Well, I don't like guns. I don't like certain pastas. It doesn't matter. It's always going to be there. Whether it's a gun, stick with a barb on the end of it and everybody's getting beaten. It doesn't matter. It's always going to happen. There's going to be something. But again, we need to protect our kids for as long as we can. We throw too much at our kids. We try to make them adults way too. I'm not saying put them in a bubble. I mean, they got to know what reality is. But going to what Adam said, they're being taught without any Respect. The only reason they grab onto respect and morals and stuff is when something horrible happens. You can't live your life that way. You can't wait for something like that bad to happen. Adults, people out there, get with your kids. Teach them, tell them, look, this is part of the world. There are weapons out there. NRA members out there, if you're listening to that, yeah, Second Amendment, I have the right to protect myself. I got the right to bear up. Yeah, you do. That's great. Super. Awesome. I'm with you, buddy. There are certain weapons, really, you can have do I have the right for a rocket launcher? How about a tank? Can I run around down the highway with a tank? Oh, that's ridiculous. Who would do that? No more ridiculous than a fucking gun that shoots 150 rounds a minute. It doesn't make a damn bit of difference. Bump stock, the issues with bump stocks, all that is a fuck
Rum
shot man's
Rum
fucking gun. What?
You've been fading in and out because of Skype for the last minute. I'm just I caught a lot of it, but yeah, it's getting worse. Rum.
All right. Well, fuck it. Protect your kids, respect, but don't use people in tragedies as a stone for your movement.
Right.
Solve the problems at home. Solve them in your town, in your city. Schools. The world is changing faster than we can keep up with it. But it doesn't mean you're going to be able to live in your Shangri-La. It ain't going to happen. You get rid of all of the weapons. That's just the ones you don't have. The bad guys always have them. So,
right.
I don't know I have no answers for the situation. Just, I do acknowledge your concept of respect. It's sorely lacking.
All right. Well, hopefully, I felt like this was a good talk. That's our perspective.
I probably have a lot of haters on me right now, but I don't care. Anyway, buddies.
Yeah. All right, Rum. Well, thank you, and thanks to everyone who listened. And we'll get back to our regularly scheduled type of episodes soon.
Sure. We should end it on something fun though.
Dance party?
I don't know. Pull my finger.
That's not your finger. All right. Well, thanks, Rum. And this has been the MHOG podcast. I've been Adam.
I've been the Rum Guy.
Keep it respectful.
Keep it respectful. I like it.